Díomh chuirde is mis Sean O Conail, mis stúrthór an céim BCL Dlí agus Gaeilge. My name is Sean O Conail. I'm the director of the BCL Law and Irish program. I'm just going to talk to you today a bit about our program and what's involved in it, and some of the opportunities that will be available to you if you choose to come and study with us, and some of the things our graduates have gone on to do as well, because it is a degree program that gives you a great sense of flexibility. Our graduates do a huge range of work, working everything from media work to working in European courts in Luxembourg to the traditional legal careers that you'd always associate with a law degree, like working as a barrister or a solicitor, be that in Cork, Dublin, or lawyers internationally too. We've graduates who are enrolled as lawyers in Singapore, New York, Australia, and the United Kingdom. So it is a very international compatible degree program as well. I'll talk to you about all of that. But firstly, just want to talk to you about UCC in of itself and why would you be interested in coming to UCC in the first place. The graphic here tells you a few things about UCC, in terms of the benefits of it, and I'll go through some of them. But one is that we are in the top 50 in Europe for teaching and learning. So if you think of all the universities across all of Europe, and UCC has been ranked as in the top 50 of those when it comes to teaching and learning, get the kind of experience you get when you come to UCC and the kind of focus that we put upon teaching and learning. Your lecturers will be really committed towards you, will really try to give you the best possible experience in that sense. When it comes to the number of graduates who come out of UCC, so over 90% of our graduates are in employment or further study within 12 months after graduating. Now that's a university-wide figure, but actually in the law school that figure is even higher again. Our graduates do very well. They are successful. They have a huge range of options available to them. And one of the great things about a law degree is it opens so many doors to you. It's not just the traditional barrister solicitor route that people might think about. And a lot of people who do a law degree go on to do other things as well. I'll speak a little bit more about that in a moment, but don't think if you're interested in doing law, but I don't want to be a barrister solicitor, that is not for you. That's certainly not the case. Up to 50% of our graduates never go on to practice as barristers or solicitors. They go on, they do something else. So bear that in mind as you're looking at things. University is a really interesting experience, but what we'd always say is what happens within the university classroom is probably 50% of what you learn within the university. There's a whole 50% of other things that you learn from the university overall experience, the sporting clubs, the societies, the clubs that you get involved in, the perspectives university gives you on things like sustainability. So for example, UCC is ranked as one of the most sustainable universities in the world and one of the best universities in the entire world for recycling, for climate change agendas and sustainable development. And that's something we take great pride in. That doesn't happen by accident. That's because everyone in the university community buys into that. And if you become a UCC student, you will be part of that effort as well. The university student experience is really important to us. It's not just something we throw out there and say, we want students to have the very best experience, particularly within the law school. I think we have kind of an unofficial motto in the law school, which is work hard and play hard. And it's important you do both. It's not just about studying all the time and achieving something very, very important academically. We want you to get involved in things as well, because to be a good lawyer, you need to be a part of society, not stand in the margins looking. You need to be a part of society and understand how things work. So we always encourage people to get involved there. When it comes to UCC, we pride ourselves on access. We provide ourselves on giving people who maybe come from an area that traditionally hasn't had a lot of people from their area or from their school go to university. There's a lot of programs within UCC that try to address that and try to help people in a very sustainable and considered manner in that regard. So be sure you talk to your career guidance teacher about that too, if that applies to you, as to some of the benefits that come from that, and how we try to level the playing field as much as possible. And gender equality is also something that's very important to us in UCC, and we subscribe to Athena Swan, and our law school has been very fortunate to be awarded the Bronze Athena Swan status recently. And the benefit of that is it shows that we take gender equality seriously across every aspect of what we do. Excuse me, including inclusion. So it is very important to us that everybody feels welcome in UCC, in particular the School of Law, something we take great pride in. So, wherever you're coming from, there's a place for you at the School of Law. We want you to get involved in everything that we do. The university overall is ranked in the top 2% of universities worldwide. So if you think about that, of all the universities all around the world, UCC is ranked in the top 2% worldwide, which is something we are very proud of. And it's something that if you choose to come and study with us in UCC, you will get very involved in too. But not only is our entire university in the top 2% worldwide, our law school is in the top 100 law schools in the entire world. And that's something we are immensely proud of. If you think of all the law schools all over the world, we are in the top 100 of that. And that doesn't happen by accident, because of the dedication of the people who work here and our students who, really push themselves to get to that status. What I want to talk to you in particular about today, however, is more focused on the Law and Irish degree. Okay, and you would have heard a lot about the law school and the university in general, but the Law and Irish degree came to the Gaelga. So Larome den chuidas mó as Berla nu, Marolas is tá cultúr Gaelach a going fresh is Scotland. So I'll speak to you predominantly in English, but we do have an Irish language culture within the law school as well, and it's something that we're very proud of, and that we do encourage people to use, not just their Irish, but French as well, and German and Spanish if they have it. Languages are important to us in the School of Law. The Law and Irish degree program is a 4-year undergraduate degree program. So you spend the first 2 years of your undergraduate degree program studying law, so traditional law subjects, all the ones you need to become a lawyer, all the ones that would be normally part of a law degree. You study some Irish language modules as well, everything from how the Irish language works to things, you get choices as to whether you want to look at poetry, novels, and media, broadcasting, journalism through the Irish language. So there's a huge range of options and suites there in the first and second year. What you also do, which is unique to UCC, is you study some law through Irish, which is very important to us. So every student who comes to UCC gets the option of doing, for example, constitutional law in English or in Irish. Everyone gets that choice. The Law and Irish students obviously do it in Irish, but others besides law and BCL Law and Irish students can do it in Irish too. So it's something that creates a culture of Irish language, but also shows that there's a legal relevance to the Irish language, particularly in an area like constitutional law, which is where the Irish language is very legally important. We also have language programs around the EU law. So if you have French, for example, you can choose to study EU law in English or in French, which is something we do try hard to promote. The degree program is what we call a joint honours degree program. That means when you graduate, you have a degree in law and Irish, which is very useful because it allows you to become a lawyer, or allows you, for example, to go and become, let's say, a second level teacher as well. It ticks all of those boxes, which is something we're very proud of again, and something that is very useful to you in terms of keeping your options open and give you that kind of flexibility, so known as a joint honours degree. The third year of the Law and Irish degree program is unique. It's where you spend the third year either studying abroad for 1 or 2 semesters, and that can be in the United States or around Europe, or that you can go on work placement and work in a law firm or an NGO, a legal office, a huge range of suites and options there. And that third year is, like I said, is unique to the Law and Irish program. There isn't another law and language program where you have that kind of flexibility in it. Students love it, and they do really well in it. They go away for their third year and they come back to Cork then in their final year to finish out their degree, studying again law and Irish. And in your final year, you can pick to study more law and less Irish if you wish, or you can keep the balance going. It's entirely up to you. So you have a great degree of flexibility, and that inherent flexibility in the program allows you to have options as you graduate in the Irish language sector. So a lot of our graduates have gone on to work as things like language promotion officers, journalists using the Irish language, but also obviously the traditional legal routes, barrister and solicitor. So both are catered for. Our degree qualifies you to become either a barrister or a solicitor, go on to that further training. It also sets you up, if you want to do something like accounting, you can get certain accounting exemptions, and if you want to go and do taxation professional exams, it can give you exemptions for them as well. So really good flexibility. And like I mentioned, there's also an option to register with the Teaching Council and become a second level teacher to go do that further training as well. The degree makes you eligible for that too, because it is a joint honours degree. So I suppose if we're looking at the Law and Irish degree, the big message from it is it has flexibility, very good flexibility in terms of allowing you to pursue different options. And like I mentioned, the program structure is relatively straightforward in that you cover all the core law modules, and predominantly you do those in English, but there are some threads of program you do the modules in Irish. You also take something we call a link module, which is usually an Irish language module, but it's focused on the law. So it's not a traditional law module, but it's looking at how the Irish language and the law work together in kind of interesting ways. So you'll do that each year as part of your program. That can involve having guest lecturers, people come in who are working in the area of the Irish language and law, for example, solicitors who are engaged in that kind of work, and barristers. We've also had things like visits to the Supreme Court, where you go to the Supreme Court and you hear a case and you see it happening in Irish. And on occasions, we've even gone to the European Court of Justice in Luxembourg, where they do hear court cases in Irish too, because Irish is not just an official language here in Ireland, but it's an official EU language as well. And as a result of that, it does give you huge options in Europe too, which I must emphasize, because working with the European institutions is a really fantastic opportunity, but not just in the sense that it gives you really good cultural learning and a really diverse environment, and you're working in really exciting places like Luxembourg or Brussels, which are really at the forefront of international politics and development, but it also gives you really good terms and conditions. The pay is really, really excellent. The conditions are really good around the kind of support that they give you there. They give you support to go learn extra languages. They give you time to go do college programs if you want to do an additional qualification. So it's really useful in that sense. The other thing I think that's definitely worth saying around the European institutions and the EU is that for our graduates, it's not some notional thing that's out there. Every year, UCC Law and Irish graduates go and get these jobs with amazing starting salaries of upwards of 90 to 100,000 euros per annum as a starting salary straight out of college. So it's really impressive. And because you're working for the EU, you don't actually pay tax in the way you do in Ireland. So you're doing very well financially with it. So we can't ignore that the finances are really good. And the reason why Law and Irish graduates in particular are so in demand is because of Brexit, actually, strangely enough. Because the British left the European institutions and left the EU, English is very important still. But there are only two countries within the EU that have English as an official language now, Malta and Ireland. And so it's very important that we continue to provide all the English speakers, but obviously we have to provide the Irish speakers as well. So if you're an Irish speaker who has a law degree, who speaks English and one other additional European language, you are hot property right now, and you are in high demand, both within the European institutions, but also in the private sector too. So our graduates are doing very well as a result of that, and financially they're really excelling. The third year, just to return to that a little bit, the third year, like I say, can be spent on placement or studying abroad. We have a number of study abroad opportunities. One is actually at the University of Montana, which is an absolutely amazing place. I really encourage you to research and look up Montana. It's high up in the Rocky Mountains in a place called Missoula, Montana. There's a picture of it there on the screen. It's an absolutely beautiful university campus. The reason why we send students to the University of Montana is because of historic links. Actually, 150 years ago or so, a lot of people from West Cork started going to Montana to work in the copper mines, because there was copper mines down in West Cork and Allihies, and they go to Montana using those skills, and a huge Cork community builds up there. So if you go to Montana, you'll meet people called Harrington and Murphy and O'Sullivan, and they'll know their Irish history. They'll know all about Ireland. They'll be able to tell you where exactly, which Boheen and which part of Allihies their family came from. And it's an absolutely intriguing place. So it's not a huge state. There's only about 1 million people living in the entire state of Montana, which is bigger than Ireland. But an awful lot of them are of Irish extraction. An awful lot of them have Irish names. And as a result, the universities have worked together on it, and our students go and study at the University of Montana. They also do an internship with federal judges at the courts in Montana. So federal judges, the highest level. So you study at a US law school, you work with the federal judges, and you take other classes around the university, and you get to live in a place like Montana, which is really famous for snow sports in the winter, and summer pursuits, outdoor pursuits in the summer. So it's a really fantastic opportunity, and that's there for you if you're interested. When you come back, like I mentioned, the final year gives you a chance to specialize a bit more. So it gives you a bit of flexibility within our degree, allows you to pick what you want to do. So if you're thinking you really want to go into the commercial law world, you can focus on those subjects. You can do a little bit less Irish if you wish, or you can keep up the Irish to the exact same level if you wish. There's good flexibility within the program there. And it's important to us that our students are allowed to specialise and, pick their own path and move along as best they can. So now I've told you a bit about our program and how it functions, but what I want to touch a little bit about is the entry requirements, okay, and what will help you. So when it comes to the Law and Irish program, we have certain minimum entry requirements. So we have general entry requirements that are across all our programs, and then we have an additional entry requirement too when it comes to the Irish language. Okay, so you must get a minimum grade H5 in 2 subjects and a minimum grade O6 or H7 in 4 other subjects. That's just a minimum entry requirement for the university, no matter what the points are. Your subjects must include English, Irish, and another language. Okay, and then 3 other subjects then as well, obviously. So you must have English, Irish, and another language, unless you have an exemption. Okay, so that's really important when it comes to the Law and Irish degree program, that you have English, Irish, and another language, unless you carry an exemption for it. We say a H3 then is required in Irish. So you need to get a H3 in Irish in order to satisfy the entry requirements. So the other criteria I've just mentioned are all just common across our programs, but for the Law and Irish degree in particular, you need a H3 in Irish in order to secure a place on the program. H3 is, it's strong and it's a decent standard, but if you have a H3, you'll be well able for the Irish in the program. Ní beg five gut sa chlár agus tú gírimh learning Whaling and so on. You won't have a problem within the program if you have a H3. It's really important to note, you do not have to have attended a Gael School or Gael Coláiste in order to get a place in our program. Okay, some people ask us that every year. No, ní sin a tastal le nech, ní gal go meic sin a gut I de chulra. An taimar go mid a glorg no dinig or simlo an Whaling. Okay, so we just want people who are interested in the Irish language. They don't have to have gone to a Gael School, a Gael Coláiste, or have spent time in the Gael Tucht. And obviously, given what's happened over the last 2 years, opportunities to go to the Gael Tucht have been seriously inhibited anyway. So just to emphasize, the H3 is the mandatory requirement for the Irish language. But aside from that, it's the standard requirements we have across the university, okay? An interest in Irish is obviously great. It will stand you. And an interest generally in language, I think, does help. Some people say, having studied history is useful. Other people say having studied business is useful. But the interesting thing about law is you haven't done it at second level. So, yeah, there's certain elements of business or certain elements of history that might be useful, but maybe not. Don't fret. If you're not doing them, it's not a problem whatsoever, okay? And we have many successful lawyers who never did business or history and came into us and did very well. So just to be aware of that. The career opportunities, like I mentioned already, we keep the Law and Irish degree registered with all the professional bodies in the way that all our degree programs here in the School of Law are registered. So that means all the usual legal professions are available to you. If you want to become a barrister or a solicitor, that's available to you. The New York Bar is available to you. England and Wales, being a lawyer there, is available to you. And there's even cross-recognition around Europe. If you're qualified as a lawyer in Ireland, that gets recognised. More and more what we're seeing is lawyers working in-house. So you work for a big company, you qualify as a lawyer, and often they don't really care what kind of lawyer you qualify as, so they don't really know the difference between a barrister and a solicitor the way you would do in a traditional sense. They just want you to be a lawyer, and you could be a New York qualified lawyer or an English qualified lawyer or an Irish qualified lawyer, but you'd all work on the same in-house team. So in big insurance companies or big tech companies, that's kind of the way it's gone, and that's the way the legal profession is going more and more. But again, our degree program qualifies you for all of that. It also, like I mentioned, qualifies you for a teaching opportunity because it is a joint honours degree program. Just emphasise that. Because it is joint honours, it qualifies you to be able to do what used to be called the HDIP, now is called the PME, the Professional Masters in Education. You must do certain subject choices during your time in order to qualify for that. We point that out to you, and the Irish department will explain that to you as you go along. And you must spend a bit of time in the Gaeltacht, but actually that's no great hardship. That's brilliant fun, and there's really good social activities, and the university has accommodation in the Gaeltacht for you. So being Sean O ní bíonn costasach agus being on crack do chreite ó héh imachtí agus elehéidir son. So not be bore if we shall have the Gaeltacht being on a chud buntáisií do leis. So don't be worried about spending time in the Gaeltacht. It's something we effectively provide for you in the main, and it's fantastic fun there and great activities. So if you are interested in that, we give you that opportunity. There's jobs with the EU, like I mentioned. Just important to note, those EU jobs can be based in Ireland or in Europe. So you can be working for the European institutions, but based in Ireland as well. And to work for the European institutions, you need to be able to have 3 languages. So English, Irish, obviously they'd be the 2, and then a bit of knowledge of a 3rd one. So it doesn't have to be fluent, but you have a bit of knowledge of it. And very often that's French, because the courts, for example, the European Union courts run in French. So very often we use French there. But it can be German, it can be Polish, it can be any other official EU language at all. Spanish, Italian, whatever they are. But you do need some knowledge of a 3rd language. So if you're coming to us from Leaving Cert, you do come to us, try and keep up your 3rd language, whatever that may be. It really does stand to you. And like I said, the EU jobs, the money is dochreite, unbelievable. The money is really good. The conditions are really good. And the work is fantastically interesting. So people love it because they're working there. You're not translating as a lawyer linguist, and that's the job most people end up doing. You're not sitting there, saying, okay, this is what it says in English, I'll just write that in Irish. What you're actually doing is you're looking at the law in English, and you're looking at the law in Irish, and you're saying, okay, what does this mean legally, and what does that mean legally? And sometimes there can be interesting contrasts and differences, and your job is to fish them out. And they're the kind of opportunities that our graduates are working in. This isn't a notional thing that's out there that maybe you could get. Every year, some of our graduates go out there and are working, in increasing numbers actually. So to the point where the European Court of Justice in Luxembourg, the majority of the staff in the Irish unit of that are graduates of our programs, the majority of them. So it's something we're proud of, and we keep up our links with them as well as a result. The other thing to mention is law and Irish together is a really useful combination. And as a result, you can see it very useful for state jobs. So working with the Irish government in a whole range of things, not just directly to do with law or language or translation, but across a whole range of activities. Being able to speak Irish is very useful in a state job because obviously it's an official language and the state has an obligation to provide services in Irish. But also in media. We've a lot of our graduates have gone into media roles. They would have started out maybe in Irish language media, and some of them still do Irish language media, but then some of them move into English language media as well. So we have graduates who, for example, work with Sky Sports on their GAA coverage. They would have started out in local media and Irish language media, and then they move into the national media. And those kind of opportunities are available to you, especially if you speak Irish. And it's the law gives you a really strong background in media. You'll notice a lot of people involved in the media actually have law degrees because it teaches you what to say and what not to say at the right time and how to research something in a methodical way as well. So media is something that a lot of our graduates end up in as a result, and because of the Irish language, it does open doors for you when it comes to media. I suppose a few things to say about our program more so than others is that it's the only course of its type in the country. So you can do law and a bit of Irish in other universities, but you can't do law through Irish in other universities. So no other university offers undergraduate law programs in the Irish language. No other university has the unique third-year options that we have. And no other university has the full joint honours experience on top of all of that as well. That lets you keep your options open. And we're very proud of that. And we really try to push that if you do law in Irish, you're not setting yourself down one path. You're leaving lots of doors open to you. I'm actually a graduate of the Law and Irish program myself. As the program director, I'm a graduate of one of the early years of the program. And when I was studying in college, I had a certain view that I'd maybe become a barrister or a solicitor. Particularly barrister, I thought I'd like to do that. But I never ended up doing that because of the Law and Irish degree program opened certain doors for me, particularly with my third year on placement. I got to see how the law in Wales worked. I went to do my work experience in Wales, in Cardiff, and I made contacts there, and through that I started doing a PhD in Cardiff University. And through my PhD in Cardiff University, I got interested in law and language and how that works in Wales compared to Ireland, and that's what led me to coming back to UCC. So it really does open doors to you, and it doesn't tie you in, which I think is really important. That some people are worried that they don't want to be tied into a particular path. It keeps all the usual legal routes open to you, but it gives you that flexibility to do something a little bit different as well, which a lot of people are attracted to. We do even try to let you study a third language if you want to do it, to try and keep it up, to try and give you as much opportunity as possible when it comes to that third language. I mentioned how important it is as well. So it's something that we do quite uniquely. Look, there's a picture there on the screen of UCC students playing hurling in Montana. Our students reintroduced hurling to Montana, which is something that is quite interesting. And now hurling is a big deal again in Montana, but it kind of had gone by the wayside after 120, 130 years. But they've reintroduced it, and they've won national championships now in Montana in the US college system. And our students have been to the core of that, and something that they love doing. You don't have to play hurling if you go to Montana, but there's some things you can do, and it's really interesting how it works. In terms of when you graduate from the Law and Irish degree program, you can move into any of our specialist LLMs, or their postgrad masters in law, and we have a huge range of them, looking at everything from environmental law to business law. You could focus in on certain aspects of criminal law or maritime law. So we've all these special LLMs that give you huge opportunities there. We also obviously encourage our students to go on to further study at professional level. If they want to become a barrister or solicitor, they can go on, they can do those qualifications with our degree, because our degrees qualify you for them. We also encourage you to do research. You might want to do, research into a particular area of the law, either as a master's or a PhD ultimately. And people do that. We have a very successful PhD program. We have the largest PhD program in the state, and people do an awful lot of research on really interesting areas of law that then lets them go on and maybe become an academic or work in a policy area, or something to shape and change the law as opposed to just applying the law. And I mean, people really love that kind of activity. Like I mentioned, there's also alternative career options. PR is an interesting one. A lot of our graduates go into PR, and if you think about PR, what is it? Only using certain words in a certain context to convey a meaning, which is very much like what you do in law. So we see a lot of people who are UCC graduates go and work in the PR industry in particular, because lawyers are very good at crafting words in a particular way to convey a clear meaning. And that's one of the alternative career options. There's a whole range of them. Like I said, there's accounting and tax as well, and our degrees do give you exemptions for certain elements of those as well. So they're all our options. The degree program, like I said, is a BCL Law and Irish and came to the Squelga. The CAO code is CK304, so be aware of it. Check out the UCC website. My name is Sean O Conail, so please do drop me an email if you have a query, if you're interested in it, and try your very best when you're looking at all the programs, whether you choose ours or not. Try to be sure you've done your research on it. Okay, think about what you'd like to do and what the outcomes of it would be at the end. And I think if you look at our degree program and came to the Squelga, Beitu sauce leis an Torag in there. Sinna gur míle maithagui, agus banigi sult as an lá oscailta, as bí cinnte le ceis na chur. Okay, so enjoy the open day and be sure to ask us questions and use the facilities available to do that. Gur míle maithagui agus slán.